Title: Flight 709, Legacy in the Clouds. The Gulfstream G700 shimmered under the hangar lights like a sleek bird poised for flight. Its fuselage, glistening with precision, reflected the intensity in the eyes of Victoria Langston as she approached the aircraft's stairs. Her charcoal gray Armani pantsuit whispered quiet affluence, but to the flight attendant standing at the base of the steps, none of that mattered. Behind Victoria trailed her 16-year-old daughter, Amaya, earbuds in, head bowed over her phone. The tension hung thick in the air before a single word was spoken. "Excuse me, ma'am," the flight attendant interjected, stepping forward with polite authority. "This aircraft is privately chartered. The owner is expected shortly. You'll need to return to the main terminal." Victoria paused on the chrome handrail, the weight of 2 decades spent building Langston Aerospace from a modest consultancy to a $2.1 billion titan pressing behind her gaze. She felt Amaya's subtle shift, her daughter's awareness clicking in, familiar now with how these scenes unfolded. Her voice was calm, precise. "Actually," she said, "we are exactly where we belong." The attendant's smile tightened. "There must be some misunderstanding. This is a confidential prototype flight, and I have strict instructions about unauthorized boarding." Victoria didn't argue. Instead, she reached into her Hermes tote, retrieved a slim folio embossed with a logo, an eagle formed from turbine blades, and handed it to the woman. The attendant opened the leather case, her eyes scanning the official ownership certificate. Her color drained. "I don't understand. We were told." "You were told to expect the owner," Victoria said, taking the certificate back. "And here I am." Neither of them realized that this moment, seemingly another instance of bias colliding with power, would ignite events that would upend more than just assumptions. It would fracture allegiances, expose ghosts buried beneath old classified missions, and awaken secrets hidden in the guts of aerospace history. This wasn't just a test flight. This was the maiden voyage of Langston Aerospace's revolutionary hybrid electric jet. Inside the cockpit, Captain Thomas Reynolds reviewed pre-flight diagnostics for the 3rd time. After 30 years of flying, including tours as an Air Force pilot, Reynolds had never imagined taking orders from someone like Victoria Langston. Not because she was a woman, he told himself, and certainly not because she was black. But something about her rise unnerved him. Whispers in the aviation community hinted at favorable contracts, DI fast-tracking. No one talked about brilliance, only advantage. He adjusted the captain's wings on his chest, feeling their weight like a relic. At 57, he'd been passed over twice for promotion. Both times, someone younger and more diverse got the job. The cockpit doors swung open. First Officer Leah Cho stepped in, composed and alert. "Pre-flight complete. Hybrid system is functioning as expected." "Passengers?" Reynolds asked. "Ms. Langston and her daughter just boarded," Cho replied, not missing the shift in his tone. There was a moment with the crew. "Resolved now." Reynolds' phone vibrated, a message from his 17-year-old son. "Call when you land. We need to talk." He silenced the device. Whatever crisis Marcus was having would wait. Right now, his job was to fly this piece of engineering marvel and, whether he liked it or not, impress the woman who paid for it. In the main cabin, Victoria eased into her seat. The subtle scent of sandalwood and hand-stitched leather filled the air. Amaya was marveling at the recessed lighting, the whisper-quiet engines, the ergonomic paneling, everything she'd heard her mother describe at countless dinner tables. "This is wild," Amaya grinned. "You really built all this?" Victoria smiled faintly. "I had help. But yeah, this is ours." Amaya's voice lowered. "Dad would have loved this." Victoria's eyes softened. Robert Langston had passed 6 years ago, just as the company was gaining traction. He'd been her biggest supporter, an engineering professor who'd believed in her genius when no one else did. "He's with us," Victoria whispered, placing her hand on the armrest. "Every bolt and wire in this plane remembers him." More passengers boarded, executives, engineers, investors, journalists. Among the last was Langston Aerospace's CFO, Leonard Page, silver-haired, dependable, and one of Victoria's earliest allies. And seated near the front was a man Victoria didn't recognize, salt and pepper hair, precise movements. Leonard checked his tablet. James Whitaker, former Air Force, now with Meridian Systems. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Meridian was a direct competitor, traditional, critical of her innovations, and known to play dirty. "Did you invite him?" she asked. Leonard shook his head. "PR must have thought it was good optics. Or Meridian wanted a front-row seat if something goes wrong," she muttered. At that moment, the flight attendant, Allison, returned, posture stiff. Ms. Langston, Captain Reynolds welcomes you aboard. Can I get you anything? Victoria recognized the apology behind the formality. She smiled. What's your name? Allison Parker. Thank you, Allison. I'm fine. As Allison stepped away, Amaya whispered, You're too nice. I'd have had her reassigned. Victoria smiled. Letting someone sit in their mistake is sometimes more powerful. The jet engine spun up, creating a software unlike any traditional aircraft. This was Victoria's dream taking flight, not just innovation, but a challenge to everything the industry thought it knew. From the cockpit, Reynolds announced, Welcome aboard. Flight time to Seattle, 2 hours. Please fasten seatbelts. Departure in 5 minutes. As they accelerated down the runway, Victoria reached for Amaya's hand. We did it, she whispered. We're flying. What none of them knew was that this flight, meant to prove the viability of a hybrid electric jet, would instead unravel into a high-stakes reckoning. One that involved sabotage, a decades-old classified project, and a revelation that would force both Victoria and Captain Reynolds to confront a past neither had ever fully left behind. Once in the air, champagne flowed. Victoria mingled with investors and nodded graciously as Leonard toasted her. To the woman who proved sustainable doesn't mean boring. Even Whitaker raised his glass. Amaya wandered off to the lavatory, and when Victoria returned to her seat, she noticed Whitaker now chatting with her daughter. Too close. Too casual. What's he asking? Victoria said softly as she approached. About you, Amaya answered. About your engineering work. Weird questions. Before Victoria could respond, turbulence rattled the cabin. The captain's voice cut in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've encountered unexpected weather. Please remain seated. In the cockpit, Reynolds and Cho fought the aircraft into stable altitude. Reynolds frowned as a system indicator blinked. You see that? He asked. Minor power fluctuation, Cho replied. Could be turbulence. Or a sync issue between the hybrid and conventional engines. Reynolds called engineering. The reply came quick, within normal parameters. Nothing to worry about. But Reynolds worried. Later, First Officer Cho quietly approached Victoria. I need to speak with you. Privately. Victoria followed her to the engineering bay below deck, a compartment not meant for passengers. It was sterile, humming, and cool. Cho pointed to a display. These spikes occur every 23.7 minutes. They're not random. They're programmed. Victoria's breath caught. Sabotage? She asked. Likely. Someone modified the core algorithm, and it had to be someone with deep access. Victoria's mind raced. Only 3 people had the clearance. One was Leonard. One was her. The third, her former CTO, Thomas Whitfield, had vanished 6 months ago after resigning abruptly. Could it be Reynolds? Cho asked reluctantly. He has override clearance, Victoria admitted. But I don't think he'd risk lives. Just then, a shudder rolled through the aircraft. Victoria and Cho climbed back up. She found Whitaker in her seat, once again talking to Amaya. I see you've met my daughter, Victoria said, voice clipped. Whitaker smiled. She's brilliant. Takes after her mother. Cho slipped into the cockpit to update Reynolds, who now faced 2 truths. The hybrid system was unstable, and Victoria Langston might be the only person who could save the plane. As Victoria entered the cockpit, Reynolds looked up, surprised but not unwelcoming. You believe this is sabotage? He asked. I know it is, she said, handing him the data. Together, they isolated the system and prepared to reroute power to conventional engines. Then Victoria saw it. A remote override signal embedded in the code, coming from inside the plane. Someone's controlling the system manually, she whispered. From where? From a device on board. Victoria exited the cockpit. She scanned the cabin. Her diagnostic app picked up a signal strongest at seat 3A. Whitaker. Amaya, watching him closely, noticed the thick, custom phone case. She distracted him. Victoria, quick and silent, took the device. She handed it to Cho, who sprinted back to the cockpit. Within minutes, the interference ended. System stabilized. The cabin returned to calm. Reynolds' voice came over the intercom. We're diverting to Portland as a precaution. Estimated landing in 30 minutes. Victoria confronted Whitaker. You tried to destroy my aircraft. He didn't deny it. You don't know what you've started, Langston. Moments later, Leonard Page clutched his chest, heart attack. As Whitaker offered to assist, Victoria blocked him. But Leonard whispered, let him help. And watch his phone. That's when Victoria realized. Whitaker had tried to distract them with a medical emergency. But they had the device. And soon, they had him in custody. Upon landing, airport police boarded. Whitaker was arrested without fanfare. This is bigger than you think, he warned. It's not just about your jet. It's about what came before it. Victoria watched him being escorted away, her mind racing. Later, in the airport waiting room, she sat with Reynolds and Amaya. They didn't speak for a while. Then Reynolds said, "Your daughter? She's 16? Yes." The pause was long. His eyes searched hers. "We dated. MIT. 1998, he said softly. Victoria exhaled. "I didn't know I was pregnant when you shipped out." He nodded slowly. "She looks like you. She's brilliant like you." Reynolds smiled sadly. "We have a lot to talk about." Victoria squeezed his hand. "And a lot to protect." Outside, the rain poured over Portland's tarmac, washing away nothing, but revealing everything beneath. And somewhere far beyond the clouds, others were already recalibrating, planning their next move. Because the sky had never really belonged to those who built it, only to those willing to fight for it.